When we're back with a bit of Twofold bonus content, because I love this game so very much. Which is our new start screen after clearing both Caprice and Millie's routes. And since we finished Caprice's route, it's time for us to backtrack a little bit and see the other two friend scenes we did not see. So we're gonna, same as I did with Millie's route, bonus video there. We are in fact going to backtrack and check out the friendship scenes for Allison and Wallace. Eileen, I really like Eileen as a character, and I think I'm really gonna enjoy seeing her and Allison's story come up in First Snow when we play that a little further down the line. But it is really nice to see the closed off snarky type showing her heart and showing her appreciation openly, not just in the roundabout ways she tends to. It was nice to see Eileen's relationship with Caprice come to the point where she's still gonna be sassy and grumpy, but she still ultimately does care about Caprice and resolves to show it a bit more. So let's go rewind. Let me find the right place we are at here. Yeah, I think I have a safe perfectly in line here. Because, yeah. Got our friendship scene. They are both in... Oh wow, we have more friend scenes here, don't we? Yeah. Huh. Caprice has one extra friend scene on her side, on her end. Very cool. So let's jump back in. We should be able to just load right back into here, where Caprice is absent, so we are going to free study with some other friends here. On that note, sculpting is intimidating, but she's nice, yeah. So Wallace is plotting a webcomic, Allison is trying sculpting, and Eileen is doing what she does best. Do enjoy these little bits here, plotting a cactus webcomic. Sculpt a cactus. Paint a cactus. We're gonna sculpt with Allison. Sculpting is intimidating, but she's nice. Let's go. Allison works on shaping a white ball of clay.
Hey.
Wow. Shit. Ahem. Full start on the offense. Allison works on shaping a white ball of clay with her hands and a somewhat hooked tool, scraping off bits and pieces here and there. As I approach, she looks up, a bright smile to greet me.
Hey, I thought I'd take you up on that offer.
That's great! Come sit. There's plenty to share.
As I sit, Allison moves over her supplies to the middle of the table. Between the assortment of bright bricks and small metal tools, she's putting out an article on beginner sculpting tips. Hey, so we both can learn together. Allison hums to herself, seemingly content to work on her piece at her own pace. Without any particular instructions, I grab a green brick and try to mimicking her movements.
How are you liking it? Your classes, I mean.
As she says that, I remember something vaguely about her having taken the class before. With that in mind, I feel no shame in being totally honest.
I wish it were as easy as it seemed on the flyer.
She laughs and nods along. Already the little form she was pulling and shaping starts looking like a small bird.
I know. At least you have Caprice as a tutor, huh? She's, well, like she said before, she wouldn't miss an art club meeting for the world.
Is everything okay?
She pauses. The tail of the bird falls off, its connection too thin.
I'm not really sure, to be honest. She doesn't really talk to us about it, but ever since her argument with her roommate began, she's been sort of out of it. To go from the best of friends to how they're acting now? I don't know what could have happened to cause such a rift so quickly.
You're talking about Millie, right? The writing club lead?
Mm-hmm. I've tried asking, but she just insists that everything is totally okie dokie and changes the subject.
Noticing I didn't notice while streaming before, but noticing all the various interesting selection of emojis in the background of Allison's dialogue
If
box.
you find out anything, let me know. We're all pretty worried about her.
Hey. So is this path going to become the Caprice support club? I'm a little surprised about how openly Allison shares her sentiments with me, a new person to the club, let alone how candidly she speaks. It's refreshing. Haley's cryptic advice from earlier still rings in my head, and hearing directly how someone feels is a relief. I give a nod. In my hands, the clay is formed into a flat, leafy shape. Allison changes the subject, asking me about where I work and what my hobbies are to pass the time. No wonder she won the heart of someone like Eileen. She's got that naturally engaging
Oh, look! A
and welcoming personality. Let's move forward to friend scenes then. Let's see, this is spare key. With my classes done for the day, I make my way to the club room. At this point, it's starting to feel like part of my usual routine. Thought that scares me at least a little bit. What's not usual, however, is Caprice standing outside the door. I pull my phone out as I approach the door to double check the time. I'm definitely not early.
Hey,
She idly plays with a paperclip, content to ignore the elephant in the room.
so do I need to ask why we're not inside?
Oh, it's 'cause I forgot the keys at home
Yeah.
today.
That's all. How silly of me.
So is the club canceled today then? Or are we moving somewhere else, or...
Nah, just waiting on Allie to show up. She should be around soon. I think her classes are about done.
Oh, does she have a spare key?
Well, she can get the door open.
Oh? There are a dozen different ways to read the sly smile on her face, and none of them seem pleasant.
Oh, perfect timing. Allie!
Caprice stands on her tiptoes, glancing over my shoulder. I match her and spin my head around to get a glimpse of Allison approaching us. Even from a distance, her frown is obvious.
Again?
Caprice tosses her the paperclip as Allison makes her way next to me.
Again. Sorry.
You know I don't like doing this. Especially not out in the middle of the hall.
Lockpick aficionado?
That's why I apologized.
The sigh, Allison unbends the paperclip and crouches down so her eyes meet the lock on the door. It takes until she inserts the clip into the door for me to fully process what's happening.
Wait,
Shh. Just watch.
Allison's entirely still, outside of her hands going through some motions she's clearly had to practice several times before. I think to move my body to try and cover her better so it's not entirely obvious what's happening if someone were to walk upon us, but Allison twists the handle and the door pops open before I get the chance. She's good. Dang, she's good. As Allison stands back up, Caprice gives her a quick hug for her reward.
Thanks. You're the best.
And you're the worst.
So she says, but the two share a small laugh regardless.
where did you pick that up? Actually, why did you pick that up?
Oh,
Allison releases herself from Caprice's embrace and turns back around, reminded that I'm still here.
it was just something fun to learn. I don't actually do it outside of playing around with locks and stuff at home, though.
And the club door?
And, backing up for, Caprice, you know.
And the club door. But that's all.
She helps with the cupboards and all the other locks inside, too. Eileen also told me the story about a vending machine.
Thank you, Caprice.
That cat is now securely out of the bag, much to Allison's dismay. Caprice's grin is a mile wide in contrast.
Maybe we should continue this inside so people can't hear.
Smart.
Yes. Good idea.
Allison swings the door the rest of the way open and is the first to find her way to her usual spot. Caprice and I shuffle in behind, with Caprice wasting no time to sit herself at the front of the classroom.
You know, nefarious implications aside, it's a pretty cool skill to have.
Allison and I continue to shuffle through our respective bags, pulling out our supplies and organizing them on our desks.
Honestly, stuff like that is in one ear and out the other for me. As soon as I understand something at a basic level, it exits my brain instantly. The only reason that hasn't yet is because of, well, you saw.
So, that does make sense. Allison's wander. Allison was the one starting something, like learning something completely new. Like, we know Wallace is adapting from writing to incorporating art into it, the webcomic style. Allison was starting something completely new, so Allison is the wandering hobbyist, as opposed to Eileen, the expert painter, and Wallace, the skilled writer, adding art to his arsenal.
You're welcome, by the way.
Okay.
It's neat that you're just able to pick things up like that, though. I can't juggle my attention around to save my life.
I don't think that's a bad thing. Even if you know you can't focus on multiple things, you'll eventually learn to laser focus on something, right?
That's fair. I finish unpacking my sketchbook and notes from class, then place my bag on the floor. Allison looks to be almost done as well, pulling out a small box of clay.
Jumping around a lot makes it hard to stick with one thing. You'll be a better artist than me by the end of this.
You could prove her wrong. I opened my sketchbook and flipped through a few pages I filled in the past couple of weeks. You'll be a better artist than me. I'll prove you wrong. They all seem bad to me in the moment, but to my surprise, there's at least some sort of difference, no matter how small.
You'll have me beat in ceramics, at least.
She exchanges a brief smile with me before turning to her box and starting on her next project. If I had her ability to multitask, I wouldn't even be in this situation, but I'm starting to feel like I can make it work. As I get ready to start filling out a new page in my sketchbook, the door opens once more as Eileen and Wallace step inside.
There you are. Okay, today's club meeting is now officially in session.
Very curious development for our girl Allison. Intriguing. Oh, this is a new background. This is the zoo. If you get a tiger hot dog or an icy penguin to go. I want an icy penguin to go. This is a sentimental thing. The cold today is manageable, mostly ignorable with my coat. Good thing too, since I woke up to a text this morning suggesting we go to the zoo as a club outing. Unlike most other times something like this gets proposed, there's little resistance to the idea, even if Eileen and Wallace's faces may imply otherwise. That's because, oddly enough, it was Allison who brought the idea forward. Caprice was eager to accept, and, well, I find myself not really minding anymore.
Whoa, it's practically deserted.
Couldn't imagine why.
Caprice holds a pamphlet in her hands, with at least a dozen more tucked under her arm. Her head visibly rotates as she reads, committing every word of them to heart.
This is my favorite time of year to visit.
That's...
A lot of the animals are holed up avoiding the cold, though.
It's a sentimental thing.
Ah, title drop. Ah. It's rare to see Eileen put on the back foot like that, especially after only one sentence.
Okay, I finished making our plans for the day. We're starting with the polar bears.
Oh boy. Routing it all out.
You won't even be able to see them. They'll blend right in with the snow.
Challenge mode.
All I'm hearing is, wow, Caprice, what an excellent opportunity to learn all about color contrast.
Got him there. He seems to know when he's beat us. He slumps his shoulders.
I'll get all of us some bottled water and catch up with you in a bit. I'm going to need a second set of hands to carry them, though.
I've got it.
Actually, I was sort of hoping to get Olive's help here.
Oh, but...
Surprisingly, Caprice is the first to try and argue. Eileen, on the other hand, seems content to just leave it there, which is just as shocking.
I wanted to chat with them a bit. About some club stuff.
Oh?
Oh, yeah, okay, but don't keep us waiting for too long.
Sure thing. See you soon.
With my assurance being enough to convince her, Caprice herds her flock of barely cooperating sheep off towards the polar bear exhibit with a wave. Alright. Once they're on their way, Allison starts approaching the little refreshment stand, looking behind her and waving at me just to make sure I follow. Tiger hot dog!
What's up?
I've been thinking about your final.
Oh?
Oh yeah? I'm all ears if you've come up with anything.
She pauses the conversation for a moment to place her order, handing over a few bills as the person in the booth starts piling bottles on the counter.
I don't know if you remember, but a while back you were telling me how you could only really focus on one thing at a time without getting overwhelmed.
Oh?
Uh-huh.
With the 5 bottles in her possession, she gives a quick glance behind us to make sure there's no one else in line, then begins spinning all the bottles around so the labels are visible. There's a total of 4 animals across the 5 labels, a pair of sea lions standing out from the pack.
I think maybe you should lean into that and make your final project based on what feels overwhelming to you. It's bound to be filled with emotion and stuff by default then, right?
Ah.
That makes sense, I guess. But it's hard to really articulate something like that. It wouldn't really be overwhelming if it was easy to organize and file away.
It could be more abstract then. She starts separating and grouping up the bottles, picking out different animals for each of our fellow clubmates, despite the fact that all of these will likely be in some recycling bin by the end of the day.
Maybe you just need to anchor those feelings to a place or person?
Ah, okay. This again. Before I have time to interject, she's already begun continuing her thought.
Like, there's probably better times of the year to visit the zoo, but I've been looking forward to coming during the snowy season all year. Eileen took me here around this time last year on our first date.
Oh.
So, I always associate a snowy zoo with that memory now. So, if I want to enjoy the zoo, I come during a warmer part of the year. But if I want to think about that time, I come during the winter. Like I said, it's hard for me to retain things unless it's for school or whatever. But the zoo keeps me grounded to a lot of things that are important to me.
Any second now.
You just need to find someone or something important to you and figure out how they've been able to help you through this.
So Allison was more directly guiding us to our conclusion. Taking 3 bottles in her hand, she passes the remaining 2 to me. Twin sea lions, just in case she was being too subtle before.
I'll think about it some more.
Oh, she
Thanks.
knows. She knows.
It's what I'm here for.
With our conversation over and our stash of water divvied, we start making our way to the polar bears as quick as we can without breaking into a run, neither of us wanting to keep Caprice waiting for too long. Oh. Not only does she know, she's encouraging it. Wholesome. We love that for her. Alright, on to Act 3. We are in a scene called What Goes Around? As Eileen promised, or perhaps threatened, we've chosen to end the day with one last club outing at the usual pizza place. Allison's huge smile, by contrast, feels a lot more sincere.
I'm so happy for you two. I had a feeling really early on.
I guess you would be the expert in the room, huh?
Although maybe this isn't. I didn't actually check the scene selection, but
Well, honestly, you two weren't super subtle near the end.
yeah. I immediately shift my eyes toward the plate in front of me to make my embarrassment less obvious. Not sure what Caprice's reaction is, but it's responded to with a giggle from Allison.
Either way, I'm glad it all worked out.
Yeah, same.
Hey, Olive?
I pull myself back up to eye level now that she's singled me out.
I actually wanted to apologize for being so pushy about things.
Oh, the zoo?
Well, it worked out in the end.
And I'm glad. But I could have been way off the mark, and I shouldn't have tried to involve myself like that. When I was dealing with similar stuff a year ago, I'd ask for help and thoughts, but the only advice I ever got was to figure things out on my own. In the moment, I just thought you two deserved more than that.
Well, it's really sweet of you. I had no idea she was torn up about that. It only really happened once or twice and didn't really faze me.
Hey, it's fine. I appreciate the thought, really. It's nice to know you were looking out for us.
You two are being way too serious right now. It's making things weird.
Hey, we're having a moment here. So she says, taking a giant bite of a slice of pizza to put a point on her sentence. Caprice's ability to change the ebb and flow of people's moods never ceases to amaze me.
Okay. Let me say one more thing and I'll stop. Promise.
She takes a sip of her soda before continuing. I can't but feel at least a little relieved when she turns her attention to Caprice rather than resuming our conversation.
Caprice, I know you joke about being responsible for bringing Eileen and I together. But for what it's worth, I think there's some truth to that. And, well, I'm glad what went around came around.
Caprice looks like she's about ready to bolt out of the room, despite the smile on her face. She remains glued to her seat, however, as Allison leans into her ear, using her hand as a shield to hide her whisper.
Eileen thinks the same way too.
Oh.
Aww.
It didn't seem to be enough of a safeguard, as Eileen immediately pulls herself away from the conversation she was having with Wallace to make her presence known.
I can still hear you.
That didn't sound like a denial to me.
Oh, got her. The swift punch to Wallace's arm isn't enough to wipe the smugness from his face, and in fact only serves to magnify the smiles of the rest of the club. The night continues on, with lots of laughter, and most of us wearing various shades of red on our faces. That could explain a lot if the third scene is just this party and our friend route of choice reacting to the announcement of our relationship. I believe the Eileen equivalent of this scene was texting Olive about Christmas, trying to asking him to asking him to I'm getting tongue tied here, asking him to update her about what happens over Christmas with a picture and Christmas at Millie's. This is Lovely Imperfections. The pile of gifts on my coffee table is modest, no more than 3, but trying to make them look presentable took all morning. With how busy life has been, the holidays managed to sneak up on me pretty effortlessly. Having to schedule an early Christmas with Mom definitely hasn't helped things feel closer than they would have otherwise. Not that I'd ever complain about that. Christmas with Mom? Always a good thing. Taking one last glance at the meager stack of presents, I decide my efforts have earned me a cup of coffee as a reward. I pull myself up from the couch, and as if on cue, my doorbell rings. Who's that at the door? I can't imagine who would be visiting today, and I find myself just as dumbfounded when I open the door and Allison is there to greet me.
Oh, thank goodness. I was losing hope after 2 wrong doors.
You were knocking on random doors in this area? She lets out an exasperated sigh.
Hi.
Girl, you good?
Sorry for popping in like this. I had to ask around to get your address.
You could have just asked.
I wanted it to be a surprise. Here, Merry Christmas.
Oh. Pushes a small gift bag into my hands, an ocean of festive colored paper sticking out from the top.
Oh, no, you didn't have to do anything. If I had known.
That's exactly why it had to be a surprise. Go on, open it.
I do what she says, going slow out of a mix of caution and a small tinge of guilt. Oh! They're shoving some paper around. I dig out a ceramic mug colored with various shades of greens and blues. The handle's a bit misshapen and there's noticeable bumps here and there, but it's hard not to smile at it.
Wow. You made this?
Her expression shifts, unsure whether to smile or not.
I know it isn't perfect and not really creative or anything, but it's the thought that counts, right?
I think I've heard enough Olive at this point to know that that's a genuinely impressed reaction from Olive.
No, really. It's great. Perfect timing too, actually.
Put the bag under my arm so I could hold the gift in my hand, spinning it slowly as I look it over. Piecing together a small plan to absolve myself of the remorse of not having anything for Allison in exchange.
I was actually just about to put some coffee on. If you have a few minutes to kill, you're welcome to a cup.
Oh, I didn't want to bother you or anything. Just wanted to do a quick drop-off.
If you have to go, that's fine, but you aren't interrupting anything. At the very least, it'd make me feel less bad about you walking away with nothing.
She tilts her head off to the side as she thinks, a small motion made noticeable only by the way her hair shifts to match.
If you're sure, then that's good enough for me. I could use a small break from the cold.
Alright, let's drink. Place her coffee in front of her on the table, filled with sugar and milk as per her instructions. She's using the mug I had originally meant to use myself, standard and plain. As she takes it in her hands and brings the drink to her lips, I do the same with mine. With a hand holding the base of it, admittedly, not being entirely confident in the handle's durability yet. With the coffee doing its job of warming us up, Allison opens her mouth to speak.
So, how have things been? With Caprice, I mean.
Jeez. I don't even know how to describe it. Busy feels like an understatement.
Allison responds with a small giggle, followed by another sip of her coffee.
Sounds like her.
Yeah.
Busy in a good way. Taking another small drink myself, trying to figure out how to continue this conversation. Feeling like my response wasn't adequate.
I'll actually be spending Christmas over at her family's. There hasn't been much time at all to rest lately.
A very rare grimace from Allison. Tries her best to hide it away when she catches me staring, but the damage has been done.
Sorry.
Should I ask?
It's just that, well, I only really have my own relationship to go on. You know how I told you that the zoo in the winter reminded me a lot of happy memories?
Uh-huh.
Well, I spent last year at Eileen's family home too. And
Oh.
that was the complete opposite of that, more or less.
We don't know much about Eileen. Well, we haven't played First Snow yet, but Eileen's family didn't have anything as bad as the Caprice Millie Cold War going on either. Ugh. She must notice my face begin to droop because Allison is quick to pull herself to attention, back entirely upright and eyes as wide as they can possibly get.
Oh, but there were good times there too. And like I said, it's my only frame of reference, and whenever I see Caprice's mom at the aquarium, she's super nice and...
It's fine. I get it. If it helps, I was already sort of planning for the worst, with Millie there and things being the way they are.
I mean, the way things turned out, they got some really wholesome time together after the fact. As horrible as it goes for them both. They salvage a good night out of it. To some degree, a quick breath to calm herself, followed by another few sips at her cup.
Sorry. I'm just rooting for you two and got a bit paranoid. In a lot of ways, it feels like I'm watching last year fold out all over again, just from an outside perspective.
That's a good sign, at least. With you and Eileen still going strong and all.
Gives a small smile, doing enough heavy lifting where words aren't necessary. The smile is quick to turn to shock as something goes off in her mind as she digs her phone out of her coat.
Oh shoot. Speaking of which, I have to get going. Thanks for the coffee, Olive. I hope you and Caprice have a great Christmas together.
She empties the rest of her cup into a couple gulps and immediately sticks her tongue out in disgust. No amount of sugar is going to mask the bitterness when you down it that fast.
No problem. Thanks again for the mug. I really appreciate it. Tell Eileen I said hi.
Still fighting against the bitter consequences of her haste, she gives me the best smile she's capable of giving as she makes her exit. So I stand alone in my tiny living room, slowly enjoying the rest of my coffee in my new favorite cup. Oh, that's wholesome. That's really wholesome. That's sweet. A couple days later. This is another new, background here. Tell her we love... Oh, this is coming from Allison. Tell her we love her. Oh. For mercy, work was quiet today. I was preparing to just go through the motions, head home, make a quick dinner, then lay in bed with my phone till I passed out. Text message I received at the tail end of my shift had other plans for me, though. The apartment complex I find myself in is like night and day compared to my own. Even the hallways manage to impress me with how tidy they are. Double checking the door number on my phone, I give the one in front of me a good knock. After a moment it opens, with Wallace there. Wallace! Hello!
Hey.
He extends his head a bit out the door, looking around briefly before bothering to respond to me.
Hi. Caprice not with you?
I opt for shaking my head rather than a verbal reply. His tone is as deadpan as it normally is, but I can't but feel a little agitated at the question. Wallace seems generally nonplussed by my answer as he opens the door to let me in. Impromptu art club? Oh wow, this is a nice place. Even if the hallway left a good impression, I didn't expect the apartment to be quite this high-end. When Allison texted me saying she wanted to invite everyone over for dinner, I couldn't help but wonder how she planned to cram everyone inside a tiny apartment. Something I feel dumb for even considering now.
Oh, Olive. Feel free to hang your coat up and find a seat wherever. We don't have a dining table, but...
No one's eating a thing till everyone's here. We're missing your +1.
I almost didn't notice Eileen in the background, hunched over the stove, her voice cutting through the sizzling of whatever it is she's currently working on.
She's probably not showing.
What? Why?
She decided this morning to head back to her mom's apartment for a day or two.
Oh, I see.
So this is after... The deflation of her face is immediate and severe.
Well, there's the entire point of the night up in smoke.
I'm sorry.
You know, it's a dire time when even Wallace and Eileen seem visibly downtrodden. I suppose this was meant to be their attempt at atoning for yesterday's meeting.
Well, I won't send you two home without anything, at least. Give me a couple minutes. Like Allison said, just find a seat wherever.
Allison and I share the couch, with Wallace off to the side in his own chair. Eileen comes around and passes out our meals, a modest dinner consisting of various veggies and strips of beef mixed into some rice. After passing the bowls around, she finds her seat next to Allison, opposite of me.
You could have said something earlier.
She doesn't need to look up from her food for me to tell she's directing that squarely at me.
When would I have had the chance exactly? Even if I knew about this earlier than an hour ago, she only made her decision this morning, and I had work today after the fact.
No response, not even a grunt or sigh. The food's good, but it's hard to believe the silence in the room is a result of people savoring their dinner.
Christmas didn't go well, I imagine.
Yeah.
Not at all, no.
She doesn't ask for elaboration. The atmosphere of the situation is enough for her.
We couldn't have known how bad it was, though. No need to beat yourself up over how yesterday went down.
There's absolutely a need to beat ourselves up over it. Even if Christmas went perfectly and things were fine, maybe we should just, I don't know, be kinder in general?
Eileen is side-eyeing. She knows. Eileen and Wallace wince at the accusation.
The holidays are one thing, but yesterday's meeting was the final straw. You guys sounded so eager to wash your hands of her. Is it really that surprising how hurt she was?
I mean, it was a bit above and beyond their usual salty. Above their usual salty and nonplussed demeanor. It was a bit harsher than normal. That combined with Caprice's already precarious state of mind led to everything falling
There's
apart.
nothing we haven't joked about before. I never would have guessed she was so worked up about that.
And she may have.
You'd be surprised.
You'd know best there, I guess.
Throughout our back and forths, Allison aimlessly taps at the edge of her bowl with her fork in reflection. She eventually puts the bowl down on the table in front of us, seemingly tired of pretending to poke at it.
We've been terrible.
You were fine. It was Wallace and I who
didn't consider her feelings. Same as me. After so long, all those mean-spirited jokes just felt normal, but I should have...
She stops to collect herself, but doesn't let it last, not wanting to lose her momentum.
We all knew the holidays were going to be stressful at a bare minimum. Then, as soon as we came back from them, everyone laughs about not wanting to be there? How else could it have gone?
Well, it wasn't the first time, and she'd always let it run off her back before.
Just because she always let it run off her back doesn't mean that it never didn't. Doesn't mean that she just completely ignored it and that it had no effect on her. It's just that she had her relentless optimism and it ran off her back.
There shouldn't have been a first time.
She stops herself with a deep breath. When she speaks again, her voice is noticeably quieter.
You're going to call me silly, but I really do think we owe her more than that. Eileen, you and I would be entirely different people without her. I know you don't have anything quite like that, Wallace, but...
No. I get it.
And as for you, Olive...
Turns to me, giving me the first good look at the sadness in her eyes.
I'm sorry about how you were left to deal with the fallout. Being there for your partner is a part of what a relationship is. But you shouldn't have to clean up our mess when you're just trying to enjoy your time together.
That's okay. You're right. It's just part of the job description.
I give her as sincere a smile as my heart can muster. It may be weak, but it seems to do its job. She leans in and picks her bowl back up from the table, finding her appetite again as she takes a forkful of rice.
If it's too late to patch things up now, then we'll just have to do our best to start this next semester off on the best foot possible.
I can get behind that.
No objections.
They know, That's strong of them. Life returns to Allison's eyes as the others chimed in. Looks like the trio of art club seniors have made up their minds.
Olive, I imagine you'll talk to her before we get a chance. If you do, would you mind letting her know we love her, please? All of us.
I start digging into my own bowl as the rest of the room slowly begins resuming their own meals.
First chance I get. Promise.
Aw. Let her know we love her. Made Allison a promise. That is... I like that. I really like that. I imagine there's an epilogue to Allison. And we are here. This was the point where Eileen directly apologized to Caprice and gave her a good hug. Now it's Allison. Wallace and Eileen slowly file out of the room after exchanging their goodbyes. Allison looks ready to follow, but stops halfway to the door, returning to Caprice and I after a moment's deliberation.
Hey, Olive.
Even if the call was meant for me, it seems to have done an equally good job of attracting Caprice's attention. Tilting her head up from the bag, she was in the middle of packing up.
What's up?
I don't know if you remember, but I told you way at the start that I liked our small club just the way it was.
That sounds vaguely familiar, I think. I bobbed my head a couple of times, trying to jolt the memory awake. I frown when I attempt it in failure, which I'm worried Allison misinterprets as she begins to fidget with her hands. Oh no.
I guess I wanted to say that I'm glad you're around. The club really feels complete with you here now.
Oh, I can feel the warmth rising to my cheeks. Hopefully not as obvious as to Caprice and Allison as it was to me.
Oh, I appreciate it. But where'd this come from?
I'm not really sure, honestly. The mood just felt a whole lot lighter today, you know?
I do, yeah.
Content with my answer and accompanying smile, Allison turns to Caprice.
I missed having you around, Caprice.
Her message to Caprice was considerably shorter, but it managed the rare feat of leaving her speechless all the same. After a few seconds, Caprice finally moves to
I
reply.
missed you too, Allie.
Oh. Caprice being unable to find her words is one thing, but Allison looks just about ready to cry. Before she gets the chance to start, the club door opens again, snapping her out of her sentimental trance.
Hey, everything okay? What's keeping you?
Here we are, our two lovely couples.
Allie and Ollie were just talking about sappy stuff for a while. Everything's good.
I barely said anything. I think about protesting aloud, but it's probably not a battle worth waging. Eileen offers a rare smile, ruffling her girlfriend's hair as she looks at me.
These two have a lot in common, huh, Caprice?
Tons.
Yeah, I don't see it. Allison's smile seems to disagree with me, though. They're both the calm, empathetic core of their respective relationships. Not long afterward, the room is finally empty, leaving just Caprice and I. Oh, right, moving on. All right. All right, on that note, it's time to get to know our boy, Wallace. Unfortunately, the idea of trying to pick up another new skill on top of everything else I've had to learn about art in the past few weeks just feels too daunting. Just to show I tried, I ended up taking a pack of different weighted pencils. They all look the same, but each is adorned with a different number and letter. Heading over to where Wallace sits, I plop down next to him and take out my own notebook.
You give up easy?
Yeah.
It's more that I know my limits. I don't have the brain space for anything else right now. I get what she's saying, and I will give it a shot. Just not today.
This is the free study day. And Caprice, this trying something new does come up in conversation, so it's really interesting how this action comes up later on. Hello. My mouse is doing strange things on occasion.
Fair enough. Before you got here, Caprice was making sure we knew how hard you've been pushing to pass. Taking it easy isn't so bad once in a while.
Oh. She said that? I feel the heat rise to my face in embarrassment. Much as I'd like to downplay it, it seems Caprice really is taking my situation to heart.
So what? Want to play for the other side today? Try your hand at writing a comic out?
Play for the other side. Oh, okay.
I guess I could do that. It's not really any different than a short story, right?
Wallace smiles a bit to himself.
Sure. Go ahead and write it out. I'll take a look at it after.
Wallace is the writing club. For the writing club, convertee. Not the term I was in the back of my mind, but it'll do. Everything about that sentence sets off alarm bells in my head. Whatever I said is so terribly wrong that he doesn't even want to entertain it. Consider asking him, but he's already turned back to his own notebook. I sneak a peek at the page he's working on, some sort of bulleted list, but he quickly notices my cheating and adjusts just enough to obscure it from my view. The only way out is through, then. I start writing out a short story. Do it. Alright, what do we got?
Done?
I think so.
A simple story, honestly. A young student has a dying houseplant and tries everything to save it.
Caretaker ran to and fro, bringing water and sunshine, only to realize what the plant needed all along was love.
Please don't read it out loud.
I don't know anything about a good story structure, but it's a safe answer, after all.
I guarantee it won't be any less mortifying when you have to draw it out, page by excruciating page.
Oh no, you are teasing me.
So, how many pages will it be?
Oh?
Probably the same as the script, right?
Try tenfold. It's a nice story, but without any dialogue, you'll need the visuals to carry it home. No exposition, no purple prose, just a student and their houseplant.
A scale of it dawns on me. Each page having its own composition, the amount of expressions I'd need to draw, figuring out the pacing.
This isn't the writing club. You'll need to write it out in a different format to make sense if you ever pass your script off to an artist to draw. All of this to say, if Caprice were here, you'd have failed.
Back to the drawing board, then. I sigh, dejected. Over the next hour, Wallace shares his notes with me, each and every page going right above my head. That's an interesting bit of, Again, we're back to the zone where we're learning some legitimate art facts here. Making a webcomic is wonderfully hard and requires a lot of planning that's unique to the typical act of writing. It's really interesting. Shout out to webcomic artists.
Oh, look! A sea turtle!
Shout out to sea turtles. A few days later. Double agent. Oh. Is Wallace in the art club going to give us a bit of a through line to the writing club? We did see, I think, one occasion with Wallace and Heather still interacting. In contrast with my struggles in art, I can appreciate the simplicity of my other classes, where there's only one right answer to every question. I just wish the research material was lighter. With my bag roughly 50 pounds heavier than it was when I first entered the library, I make my way towards the exit, eager to get this burden of books off my back so my poor spine can rest. Yeah, I remember that scene. It was Wallace, Haley, and Heather in the library, getting books. Similar scenario?
Olive, is that you?
Millie! Unfortunately, a familiar pair of students provide a sudden change in plans. She's quick to grab my attention and as loud a voice of the library can allow that. And as loud a voice a library will allow, her flagging me down after joining the art club is a surprise. But not a surprise against her conversation partner. Double agent. Okay, that's... I approach with a small wave, placing my bag on the ground as quietly as I possibly can as I reach their table.
It's me. Good to see you again, Millie. And, Wallace.
I mean, Wallace's current medium of choice is, puts him in the perfect position to kind of play both sides of the club. He's writing, webcomic, and drawing a webcomic. Gives a small nod, but not much else.
How have you been? It looked like your bag was going to snap you in half.
It's fine. Just being overeager, picking up everything for all my classes in one go.
Don't run yourself ragged. Part of the learning process is figuring out how to pace yourself.
A lesson I wish our club leader would take to heart.
Tell me about it.
Billy meets my side with a small chuckle.
So what's going on here? Leaking intel to the enemy?
I make a deliberate attempt to control my tone to make it obvious that it's a joke, which I'm sure only makes it sound worse. Billy's smile doesn't change at least, which is good.
You're closer than you probably think you are.
Eh? Okay, now I'm curious.
Yeah?
I was in the writing club till Caprice and Eileen dragged me over. Literally. I feel like it needs to be said, so Millie and I catch up and talk about current goings-ons between the two groups now and again.
Oh.
Waters may be a bit rough right now, but Caprice and I are still friends. Wallace has been kind enough to be my eyes and ears on the inside, making sure things are still going okay.
Huh. That's surprisingly tame, given how I've seen them act toward each other until now.
Guess just talking to her yourself is still out of the question for now?
If only.
It's fine. Being a double agent has its perks. When you're on both sides, you're on no one's side. The fence makes for a comfortable sitting place.
I did not expect the, I mean, in hindsight, you should have seen that coming. Makes sense. And it's gonna be an interesting perspective.
Well, I'm glad you found a place that works for you. I'm content not being part of the larger picture.
Oh, you will be.
Too late for that, I'm afraid. Your fate was sealed the second Millie waved you over.
Oh, I like that. That's a rare Wallace expression. I like that look in its eyes, though. A man. Wallace smirks with confusion on my face. Millie's unwavering smile starts feeling a little more sinister as the seconds pass by. Huh?
What we've said here stays with us. Millie has made people disappear for spilling less sensitive secrets.
Oh, shush.
Even though it was an obvious joke, I can't but feel a small chill run down my spine. Granted, that could just as easily be attributed to the strain as it was under moments ago.
In all seriousness, Olive, help look after Caprice, won't you? I know it doesn't seem like it, but I really do worry about her. You just met us at a weird time.
Yeah, sure. I'll do what I can.
Oh, you know. I lift my book bag up, grunting a bit as I manage to sling it over my shoulder.
It's been nice talking to you. See you at the club, Wallace.
Pivot on my foot, placing my back to the two as I start making toward the exit.
Oh, and one more thing.
Then I stop.
Like Wallace said, please don't repeat any of this. We're still fighting after all.
Now she's got the sinister look. Now she's got the sinister smile. Even without seeing her, I can visualize the comically sinister grin she's wearing as her voice takes the form of an evil sorceress or some such. Doesn't last, though, as she and Wallace share a laugh at her delivery.
I didn't hear a thing.
I leave them to their club talk, my pace quickening just a little bit. I'm out of here. Bye. Oh my god, bonus comment. This is Haley's comment about,
I'm banned from all art club activities while acting as a traitor to the other side.
I suppress reacting to her comment by feigning interest in the ceiling. It seems the stakes are higher than I thought. Wallace and I's secret betrayal with the writing club gains another layer of complexity. I try to look too obvious as I glance around. So this is the scene I was talking about where the art day, the free study day gets mentioned. It's
Number 3. The time you lent me all your art supplies. I don't think I would have ever tried something new otherwise.
Then you didn't even draw anything. Wallace is such a bad influence.
because he's secretly leaking intel. A few days later. Locked out of the club room? Where'd we end up? Half-truths. Alright. Today, another club meeting done. Sort of. I'm the first out the door today, eager to get home and crunch for a math exam tomorrow. It's been hard to keep my other courses in my periphery lately as the happenings of the club and its leader have occupied more and more of my mind. The woman ready to meet me at the stairway seems intent on throwing away the spare 10 minutes I had just secured, though.
Playing hooky today?
Hey, Haley.
Just getting a head start home to focus on other school stuff. The club's wrapping up soon anyway.
She gives me a quick scan, checking for any tells to expose some sort of non-existent lie. She eventually seems content enough to believe me, her eyes finding their way back up to mine.
So you have some time to talk then?
Sort of defeats.
Her expression is unflinching. At this point, it feels even like finishing the sentence would be an exercise in futility.
What's up?
Just wanted to share notes on club stuff. Caprice has been dodging questions about it at home lately.
Guess that's to be expected with you just outright joining the writing club.
She responds with a shrug. Guess she had that one ready to go.
Probably. So, spill.
I mean, it's been going fine. Nothing really out of the ordinary as far as I can tell.
Really?
Yes.
She brings her hand up to her face, resting her chin between her index finger and thumb in thought.
Huh. Wonder what's got her so worked up lately then.
Her pondering lasts for just a moment before her eyes snap back up.
Right. I owe you writing info too.
As curious as I am, I really don't have any more time to spend on this.
You really don't. It's okay. Hey, can I go?
I'll take up your offer if Olive won't.
And with the arrival of Wallace, my early start has proven itself null and void. All I can do is thump my shoulders. Guess I'm in for the rest of this conversation now.
Where's the others?
Still packing up. Keeping everything on a laptop makes things pretty hassle-free for me, though.
Hey, Wallace, been a minute.
Several.
Never thought about it, but it makes sense for Haley to have met all the club members by now. It still feels weird to watch them interact so casually.
The truth is that the writing club is still going through the usual motions. Honestly, I was hoping to get more information out of you by calling this a trade.
Didn't even want to spend the time on this information exchange to begin with, and I still feel disappointed.
Good to hear. Millie was talking about things being quiet when last we talked.
That's a very generous word for it.
but seems to get a genuine reaction out of Wallace as his eyebrows rise. Given how stone-faced he typically is, even that slight motion strikes me as unusual.
What's that mean exactly?
The club's quiet and that there's barely anyone left in it. Is this news to you?
But Millie told me you had picked up a couple of members recently.
Technically true. Just me, though. There
Oh,
was another
Darren's-
guy there for a bit, but he left pretty quick.
Oh, Darren's gone already? None of this comes as new or surprising to me, but Wallace seems dumbstruck. Given how he and Millie seem to talk about this stuff semi-regularly, I can't imagine how any of this slipped under his radar.
So who's still around?
Another signature Haley shrug.
Ignoring me and Millie, just Tanya and Heather, and Heather's... well, you know.
I've interacted with Heather a grand total of twice in my life, and I'm content to keep it at that. It doesn't take much of an imagination for me to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, I know.
Wallace closes his eyes and lets out a small grumble. It's hard to tell if it comes from a place of contemplation or frustration. Likely a mix of the two.
Sounds like Millie's been stretching the truth a bit.
Yep, she's going through the point where she's... like they both end up kind of distracting themselves from their family dynamic by throwing themselves into their club, and Millie's trying to force everything to work. In the same way that Caprice is trying to force the family dynamic to work. It's curious, isn't it?
You think she's embarrassed or something?
I don't know. She's definitely a woman with pride, but...
Wallace looks genuinely uncomfortable, not even allowing himself to fidget a bit. It's not much, barely noticeable, but for someone like him it's a night and day change.
Anyway, that's all I've got. I'll get out of your hair now. Sorry to keep you.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me leech off your conversation, Olive. It's been... interesting.
Was this? Very curious. Watching Wallace try to piece together the puzzle in his head feels surreal. He's never been easy to read before now, but I'm sure he still won't be open to talk about it, even if I offered.
Yeah, no problem. See you two later, okay?
Sure thing. Good luck on your... whatever you're going to be doing.
Thanks, you too. With a nod, Haley and I start moving again, me toward the stairs, Haley to the art club room. Wallace stands motionless, deep in thought, until he's no longer in view. Yeah, this is intriguing. Now it's our, relationship reveal pizza party. Wallace version. Eileen promise, or perhaps threaten, we've chosen to end the day with one last club outing at the usual pizza place. This is, a simple request. First outing in which Caprice isn't eager to make herself the center of attention. Can't say I blame her. Heck, can't deny feeling the same way right now. Eileen, however, is quick to notice and is the first to lift her glass and to toast our relationship. An act I can only imagine as some form of revenge for her.
To our love-struck club leader and her new partner.
Allison's usually the first to shy away from needless teasing, but even she follows Eileen's lead, raising her cup to the air. Wallace seems content to immediately start sipping away at his though. The drinks only look higher and higher up as Caprice and I shrink into our seats in unison. Feel the red on my face intensify as Wallace finally brings up his mug as well.
To all relationships in the club, old and new, here's hoping Caprice and Olive are even a fraction of how lovey-dovey you two turned out in the end.
Oh, jab back. Yeah. That's enough to bring Allison and Eileen's cups down quick. Being the only one left in the air, Wallace gives a shrug as he brings his beer back down to his lips. Caprice and I pull ourselves up. Caprice immediately ready to take advantage of her second win.
That's a tall order. These two have a whole year of experience with all that mushy stuff.
Uh-oh. Tables turned.
You'll catch up quick.
Nuh-uh.
The two keep this back and forth going for a few more rounds, blushes becoming more intense with each return volley.
Thanks for the save.
Getting under Eileen's skin is a lot more fun than getting under yours. No offense.
None taken.
None taken.
You aren't getting out of this scot-free, though.
Oh, the instant dread deep in my stomach is unmatched by anything else.
I'm a double agent, remember?
Wallace's smirk isn't doing anything to ease things either.
I don't know what to make of that.
Uh-oh.
She wants pictures.
Oh no.
Do you agree to that? You?
I figured it'd be a good enough trade for prodding a bit deeper into what's actually going on in that club.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it'd be funny.
Fair enough. There it is.
So much for finding Eileen a better target.
Wallace only smiles as he digs around for his cell phone in his pocket.
Don't you worry about that.
Clears his throat in a loud, deliberate manner, successfully grabbing the attention of the rest of the table. The doomsday clock has started ticking.
I want to get a picture of the happy couples. Would you mind getting closer to each other? Ideally paired off?
Come on. A mix of expressions litter the table, ranging from baffled to embarrassed to irritated. It's easy to guess who wears the last ones.
Since when have you been the sentimental type?
Since I was asked to be.
Yeah? By who?
I'm going to exercise my right to remain silent.
Yeah? In that case, maybe I'll exercise my right to break your phone.
Ooh.
You'll have to point me to that law later.
Ooh.
I think a photo would make a good memory.
Allison is quick to cling onto Eileen's arm. I'd imagine the sincerity in her opinion is equal to her desire to de-escalate the situation.
Ugh.
Yeah. And you know that Eileen is very much weak too. When GF grab your arm. Can't say no to her. With something vaguely resembling acceptance leaking out of Eileen's lips, that just leaves Caprice and I. In fact, I'd actually expected her to speak up sooner. I turned to look at her. She appears to be pondering something or other. Does she suspect?
Since he was asked, huh?
Yeah, she suspects. Doesn't last much longer than in her trance. A smile crawling onto her face as she brings her head up and scooches her chair closer to mine.
I'm on board.
Looks like I've been outnumbered.
You never had a chance.
Oh.
Guess not.
She pulls me close, and I return the gesture in as equal measure as I can. Looks like Eileen and Allison are in a similar boat.
At least pretend to smile, Eileen.
I mean, we've got the core of that expression there. That's...
Everyone is so pushy today.
Nevertheless, she complies. With a small click from Wallace's phone, our final club outing of the year comes to a close. Wallace really taking his role seriously. But Caprice definitely knows. The next day, it's time for Wallace to come stop over and say hi. Despite having the luxury of staying home all day, it nevertheless felt busy as I spent the day wrapping some last-minute gifts and making some small miscellaneous preparations for the Christmas visit. Thankfully, with all that put to bed, I finally have the rest of the day to myself. Sink into the couch and enjoy the silence for a bit. Earlier, I caught myself hiding the gifts in my closet by instinct, despite there being no one to hide them from. Guess the holiday spirit has managed to grab hold of me. My mind wistfully dances between a handful of insignificant thoughts and observations. A rap at the door breaks the silence I'd been immersing myself in. A small sigh, I pulled myself up. Should have known better than to think I'd ever have time to properly unwind. I don't know who I expected to meet at the door, but it wasn't Wallace, with Haley barely poking out from behind his shoulder.
Hey, Merry Christmas-ish.
Yeah. You too. Ish.
Oh, hi. I guess I stand there in my confusion for a second too long as Haley's quick to squeeze her way past the man.
Hey, can we come in? It's freezing.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I widened the door and moved myself out of the way, and the two waste no time shuffling inside. On his way in, Wallace shoves a bag of jerky into my hand.
A Christmas gift from my folks' shop. Don't eat it all at once.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Oh, I'll try not to.
I close the door once they're both inside and toss the bag on the kitchen counter before turning my attention to them. I don't even know if it'll ever actually get open, but I guess I could appreciate the gesture.
I'm guessing this wasn't just a jerky drop-off.
Dang, you're good.
Yeah,
A little bird told me about your holiday plans.
I turned to face Haley, her demeanor totally unchanging.
Little bird, I assume.
2 for 2.
Yeah. Takes a substantial amount of willpower to not exhale in frustration. I don't mind talking to Haley about this stuff. We're in a similar situation. I really do feel bad for her, but I wish she'd exercise at least some restraint in who she decides to share info with. I mean, it's pretty clear at this point that she feels similarly in the same boat with Wallace. So, hence the two of them are able to so readily commiserate outside of the club conflict.
Okay, so what's that have to do with your visit?
Just wanted to ask if Caprice has been talking about it at all.
I hope this doesn't sound bad, but we have cell phones, you know. Could have answered that in a quick text and saved you the trip.
That was the original plan.
I needed an excuse to get out of the apartment. The vibes have been weird. Sorry if it's a bother.
A rare moment from Haley, as her deadpan delivery cracks just enough to show something resembling genuine remorse. It's enough of a slip to make me feel bad for my previous grumblings.
Anyway, to answer your question, nothing really out of the ordinary. She seems generally excited about it. Why?
Just comparing and contrasting. We haven't had a chance to talk much lately, but even I can tell Millie's a wreck right now, no matter how much she's tried to hide it.
That's an understatement. With the club being the way it is, I think the Christmas thing is just a lot of unneeded stress right now.
The state of the writing club seems to be a sore spot for more than just Millie, as Wallace awkwardly shifts his balance around the mention of it.
I could have picked a better time to bail.
I don't think she blames you for it.
Hey, I'm sorry to ask, but can I get a rundown on the writing club? I know things are sort of dire right now, but I wasn't really around when it, well...
Wasn't?
Wasn't.
Wallace takes it as his cue to lean against the wall, preparing to start his history lesson.
It was a pretty rapid-fire change. Old club leader and a few other members transferred out and left Millie in charge.
Seems like it'd be normal to expect to lose members like that.
Yeah, it is. The cascade effect was just a lot more severe than expected. The friends of the transfers ended up leaving, and the friends of their friends, and so on.
How about you?
I left pretty early on, before it was obvious that we were in the middle of a mass exodus. Millie knows her stuff and is more than capable, so I wasn't too worried.
You two seem to be on pretty good terms though, right? I'm sure she doesn't see you as part of the entire thing.
His eyes narrow in contemplation, thinking for a second before he continues.
She should. I'm not really any different.
You've stayed in contact at least.
Guess that's the end of talkative Wallace. It was nice while it lasted. All the features on his face are pulled downward, painting a better picture than words possibly could. So it's no wonder that he feels that he still plays this double agent thing, which feels like more like a joke, but it's probably more remorse at leaving Millie behind and everything that came for the club after he left.
Olive.
Yeah?
It's the holidays, so I'm not gonna ask you to snoop around or whatever. And I know you're going for Caprice, but just keep an eye on both of them, if you can.
There's no guarantee anything will even happen.
And here I thought you were a pessimist.
She got me.
Anyway, I don't have the luxury of fence-sitting like you two, but I'll do what I can. Even if they're fighting, it's sort of hard to support one and not the other.
Remember that time when, feels like just yesterday, that Olive back in Act 1 was all, you're on the fence, I'm not even planning on getting involved in any of that, and then here Olive is now fully involved in this. Somehow gets a small smile of the two of the most stone-faced people I know at the same time.
They've always been good at tangling themselves up in their own webs.
Not the sturdiest fence I've ever sat on.
That's the last thing anyone in the room says for a few moments. No one quite sure where to take the conversation from there, or if there's even a conversation worth continuing. Haley's the first to eventually make a move, straightening out her jacket.
Guess we better get going. Good talking to you, Olive. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, gotta get to bed early so I can help with some holiday prep at the shop tomorrow.
Beef jerky shop. Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting
You
Wallace
two
lore.
Stay safe.
Yeah, same goes to you.
As my two guests say their goodbyes and make their way out the door, I can't help but read Haley's finally farewell as an ominous one. Stay safe. Concerning. You know how well it goes. How's this gonna play out with Wallace in Act 3? Now, is this gonna be... No, this is not the dinner at Allison's. Work was quiet, especially given the time of year. After the past 2 days, it was a gift I found myself extremely thankful for. Night at home has been even quieter, with just me alone with my thoughts and some white noise coming from whatever's on TV. It's almost too much, going from one extreme to another so fast. Feels like the last time I've had a chance to just be alone with myself was a lifetime ago. And that's not gonna be much longer. Yep, my doorbell rings. The universe is always quick to correct itself. That's a very strong few sentences there. Managed to drag myself off the couch and to the door.
Evening.
Wallace.
Oh.
I can only wonder what he's here for. After yesterday's meeting, it's hard to say his company is appreciated.
Yes, I probably deserve that.
Its awkward shifting is accompanied by some muted rattling and clanking. Oh. Do we even drink? I don't think so. His awkward shifting is accompanied by some muted rattling and clanking. I tilt my head downward and quickly find the source, a 6-pack of beer bottles in his offhand.
Figured we could each take one and I'd leave the rest here for you.
If you're trying to make peace, you shouldn't be starting with me.
I know. I'll apologize to Caprice as soon as I can. But I want to talk with you, specifically.
After a moment of indecisiveness and a sigh, I move out of the way and beckon him inside.
You can take the rest with you. I don't keep alcohol in the apartment normally. Thanks, though.
Straight and narrow, huh?
Straight edge. He practically beelines for the couch, placing the cardboard beer holder on the coffee table.
You okay with drinking in here, at least?
Yeah, just don't overdo it. I don't have a spare bed.
That's fair. As I lock the door and join him on the couch, he pulls out 2 of the bottles, passing one over to me after removing the cap. Both just sit here for a while, taking the occasional sip while he takes large swigs at a time.
So, yesterday was something.
That's probably the best way to describe it, yeah.
Was in fact something.
Don't suppose you'd be up to explaining what went down over the holidays? I'm gonna twist your arm about it, though.
Not sure where to even begin.
Caprice tried to smooth things over with Millie with a gift, and it backfired. I'm oversimplifying things, but that's more or less what it boiled down to.
Wallace wordlessly brings the bottle up to his lips again. How on earth is there even beer still left in there? Talkative as always. I want to tease more out of him, but it's hard to do so when grunting is half his vocabulary.
Something wrong?
No. Just thinking.
He pauses again. He doesn't lift his bottle this time. It must finally be running low.
I tried to get back into the writing club.
That's the last thing I needed to hear after how yesterday went. Poor Caprice.
Try.
Told Millie I'd be willing to come back and help get things back on track. Yeah, she shot me down pretty quick, though.
That's, I actually have no idea what to make of that.
Did she say why?
She just said she'd manage, and urged me to stick with Caprice. Nothing explicit. It is not hard to connect the dots.
It's hard not to be frustrated at the revelation. I feel my face wrinkle a bit as I think the new development over.
Those two are so much alike that it hurts.
And Wallace quickly puts words to my thoughts better than I could.
Not just them, I guess.
Wallace turns his head to me, a puzzled expression on his face. Before I continue, I place my bottle down on the table, content with my 2 or 3 small sips of it.
Even if you were doing it to help Millie out, you shouldn't have tried to leave without saying anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Message seems to get across. He takes another small sip from his bottle, rationing out the rest of it.
When the club dissolved around her, it was a wake-up call. No one was there for the actual writing. It was just one big hangout for a large group of friends. I think that hurt her more than the overnight abandonment. Even the folks she has over there now don't really care about it. I figured if I could pop my head in and actually participate, it'd do at least a little to help calm things down.
What they're dealing with right now totally eclipses club stuff, though.
Yeah, I know, but little things add up. Yesterday should be enough proof of how important these things are to them.
Right. People wanting to be there. It's got as good a point as any. It's obvious to anyone how much Caprice was bothered after how yesterday's meeting went.
Caprice would have been hurt by you leaving too, though.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad situation to be in all around. I guess I was just tired of doing nothing.
But getting sore on the fence there. Bottle meets his lips for the one last time before being placed back in its container, finally emptied of its contents.
It's hard to help one without the other.
You said that last time.
Something like
Yep.
that.
I figured if Caprice got upset, it'd just be a temporary hurdle. She has a lot of people she can fall back on. Now, Millie, though. Well, there's Haley, I suppose. Tanya I'm not too familiar with, and Heather is... Heather.
Yes. Tanya is a proven not great influence on Millie. Haley is a good influence, but Haley is perhaps not, like... She is someone to lean on, but is she... How do I describe it? She does not necessarily the type to take the lead in a situation like that. She'll be here for you, but she's not necessarily the type to take the initiative in the situation, or the type to be there and wait for you to reach out to her. The behind the scenes rather than the in your face work things out. Grimace is just recalling her name. The fact that I can so clearly remember after just 2 interactions several months ago probably isn't good for her case either.
Yeah, I get it. It always feels like I'm not doing enough myself. We just gotta do what we can with the cards we're dealt, even if it's not much.
Like August said, we can't fix everything, we just gotta do our best. Wallace grunts as he stands up, grabbing his stash of alcohol in the process.
Terrible hand, though.
One of the worst.
I joined him, taking my lone bottle in my hand as he makes his way to the door.
That was the last thing I could think to do, so I guess it's on you now. The burden of young love, huh?
Everyone in the club can help by being there at the start of the semester. For both of them.
A slight smile manages to sneak its way onto his face, even if the beard makes it hard to notice.
I'll do what I can, then. Have a good night, Olive.
Yep. See you back in the club room.
Wallace is ultimately well-meaning. Oh, traced footsteps. We got all other achievements. After he closes the door behind him, I take one drink from my bottle and pour the rest down the sink. Honestly, mood, Olive. Mood. I feel that. Yeah, help Wallace find his place in the club. That was our achievo there. And honestly, the way things openly wound up at the end of Millie's path, works out kind of nicely. Because they end up looping Millie's writing into art. And they all can be one big group of friends together for each other. And lastly, it's time for Wallace's apology. Eileen and Allison are the first to say their goodbyes, leaving hand in hand. Wallace is ready soon after, sliding his laptop safely away in his bag. Pats me on the shoulder as he walks past on his way to the door.
Looks like we'll be doing this song and dance for a while yet.
See you there once the Bell House meetings start up?
Naturally.
even ever man a few words, but those were the only ones I needed to hear. We're both content to leave the conversation there, so I give him a half-hearted wave as he goes to make his exit.
Hey, Wallace?
Oh, we're gonna find out that she knew all along, that he was looking after Millie too. He stops, shoulders shooting up ever so slightly before slumping down again. With all the reluctance in the world, he turns back to face Caprice.
Thanks for sticking around.
Relaxes at her harmless gratitude.
Of course.
Turns to face the door again.
And
Oh, and he turns back.
thanks for watching over Millie the entire time, too. It means more than you know.
Another elongated silence, though I'm not quite sure if it's just Wallace being Wallace or if he's found himself at a loss for words. Things, they stay quiet just long enough to start feeling awkward before he eventually finds a response.
It's kind of fun being stuck in between you two, even if it ends up taking years off my life. I'm sure Olive would agree.
Way to put me on the spot.
Well, I'm not sure if fun is the right word for it.
Well, to each their own, I suppose.
And besides, they aren't in the middle of anything. Ollie is firmly right here beside me, thank you very much.
She grabs my hand to emphasize the point.
I guess they are.
The small smiley spins around to face the door one last time. Oh. Simple, but effective. Sorry, I'm still chewing on the complexities of Wallace's place in the club, after all. So, quick review. What we learned about Wallace here. He, was in the writing club, was friends with Millie, left the writing club, or the art club, at Allison and Eileen's persistence. Obviously found a place in there, and that writing may have been his primary focus, but obviously, as we saw here, he's starting to diversify and exploring the medium of webcomics. Really cool. But after Wallace left, then we had the club leader retiring, Millie being put in charge, and then the club evaporating into thin air. And so Wallace... everything Wallace was doing in relation to the quote-unquote double agent deal was to really look after Millie, because partly because he felt responsible, partly because he always considered Millie a friend. And even if found at least some place in the peripheral of the art club with the loving couple, and Caprice being the core of it, and obviously being around, as with everything that happened in the past, and we might see more of them all in First Snow, but everything that happened in the past, Wallace would have been quite familiar and on friendly terms with Caprice too. So, but Millie specifically, the way the writing club evaporated, he felt terrible about it. Didn't feel much different than everyone else who left, who didn't have the drive to actually write. And once the friend holding them all there left, their dissipation evaporated, because what was left without the friend, the outward friend group, was just actually writing, and they weren't here for that, so they bailed. Wallace left for different reasons. Well, likely different reasons. In hindsight, it is no wonder that Wallace does feel that he's no different, because he left at the prodding of Eileen and Allison. No wonder he doesn't feel... He feels like he's not much different than everyone else who bailed on the club and left Millie alone. So he's still sticking around, though. He's obviously there in the art club for his friends there, but he's still checking in on Millie. He is on the fence between them. And he does understand in the end, Double Agent talk aside, he does understand in the end that can't have one without the other. They are more alike than they ever were willing to admit at the time. In the end, both ends of the circle meet up once again, and things work out. But yeah, Wallace's story more complex and more thought-provoking than I expected. Allison, of course, will come to truly appreciate everything she does in her side story once we play First Snow, no doubt, where we actually see Allison and Eileen come together. But it is really wholesome to see her, hoping to see it paid forward. To see her, obviously, the dynamic of the art club has Eileen and Wallace as the grumpy, serious adults, and Allison is the heart, trying to keep the group, sort of like mitigate between the salty grumps and the overly energetic Caprice. A point where she just sort of plays into the gags, because it is the sort of thing, ultimately, to go back to the Act 3 first club meeting, ultimately, that, as we did find out from Caprice's breakdown in Act 3, it did always bother her, the digs and stuff, but she just papered over it with her relentless optimism and energy. And when we got to the point, Act 3, where that relentless optimism and energy just completely was evaporated by the Christmas, by Billy's reaction, by the words Billy said to her, she couldn't just go back to the normal art club dynamic. And when that optimism energy was firmly evaporated, she just broke down, spoke her heart, and left the rest of the club realizing that they fucked up. And what did they do? They came around in the end and made things right. Because in the end, they do legitimately care about her. And yes, it was a gag that went on for far too long, because Caprice was so positive and energetic that she just kept chugging along, rolled with the punches, even if it was nagging at her in the back of her mind. So, but seeing that finally break down, it's the impetus to finally get them to realize that she's not that she's not infallible, two, that they most definitely do love her and want to do right by her at the end. They came around at the end, and that's just, I find that really wholesome. That's ultimately, well, Allison's story is about paying forward the love that her and Eileen have, seeing that paid forward to Caprice. It is also about being better to Caprice for all the good that she's done for them, acknowledging that. So that in that sense, it does top Eileen's story for me. I did like Eileen's story because she was personally involved in the piece that broke down Christmas, and was particularly brusque in the moment that broke down Caprice after Christmas, and seeing her, like seeing Eileen personally try to admit that she's got to try and be better, too, for the sake of the people that she does care about, and not just have that filtered through Allison. Allison being the one who brought that side of Eileen out in the first place, and can speak for that side of Eileen. It's personal, emotional growth from Eileen. That's really sweet to see, but Allison is ultimately the core of the growth of the art club, and Wallace is really nice to see bring back the dynamic and interaction between the clubs. We didn't see much. We only saw that briefly, really, when dealing with Heather's friend path on Millie's route. Because Heather's path on Millie's route has brought back Wallace and Haley. Gave us a snapshot of their commiserations. And that's just really cool. Alright, I've gushed for long enough once again, breaking things down here, so next VOD you'll see from us is when we pick this back up and play through Perfect Circle. And then we'll probably start First Snow. Keep the Twofold Tuesday go until we've seen everything this little wholesome world has to offer us. I have opened Perfect Circle, and Perfect Circle is a good deal of flashbacks back to the... So we're going to be seeing way more of this cast as kids and their parents, too. So August and Olive, Millie, Caprice, Adelaide, Charlie, maybe Mike, I don't know. But their mothers, their daughters, and Olive and August, the loveliest mother-child combo we've ever seen. They're so good. They're so good. Thank you for sticking through this bonus video. I feel like this came out longer than the Millie side. There was one extra event, but there's a lot to talk about. I love these characters so much. Take care of yourself. Until next time. Until then.